and welcome. Thank you for being here to honour and celebrate the life of Alan Graham Cameron. My name is Nicole Grundy, and I feel very privileged to have been asked by Alan to conduct this service and lead our reflections today. Alan was farewelled in a private chapel cremation at 2:15 p.m. today, and we will now continue this service here together in this heart-centred space in the presence of all family and friends. As a courtesy, please ensure your mobile phones are on silent. Thank you for being here in this uncertain time. We will keep safe, we will reach out to each other, and we will honour Alan's memory and reflect on the contribution he has made. We gather to celebrate all of life's milestones, the highs and the lows, for it is in the coming together that we magnify the love and support of those we care about the most. And whilst we have our own approaches to life and death, we use these opportunities to reach out and give thanks for the life of Alan, a man who has made an impact on you all. It is an absolute pleasure to witness here today, not only as a family friend of 40 years, but to be engaged to support Alan's funeral wishes in the presence of all of you. To love and be loved is to feel the sun from both sides. And it is in this spirit of love and friendship that we gather both physically and virtually this afternoon to honour Alan's outgoing journey. We warmly welcome and thank you for joining us today, whether from near or afar. For those of you who are watching in, could I ask please that you make contact with the family and let them know of your presence here today. For those of you who are with us in the virtual world, though you might not be with us physically, let me assure you we are all together, holding space together as we celebrate Alan's extraordinary life. There are many events and milestones that have shaped Alan's life. Alan's eulogy has been prepared by his children, and the reading of Alan's eulogy will be presented by Alan's son, Ewan.
Just in case you're wondering, I'm the security guy looking after Ewan while he makes this speech.
That's actually Ian, my uncle. He's my plan B in case I can't get through this, so let's see how we go. On the 12th of April 1940, Alan Graham Cameron was born in Patake, Glasgow. His first 5 years of life were marred by the Second World War, his earliest memories being the bombings and taking refuge in the entrance hall of their tenement building. He had never been out at night until after VE Day in May 1945. Dad's family was almost tragic, very poor, living in a tenement flat with shared bathrooms in this Scottish industrial city. His parents had a very strained relationship. His father was an alcoholic, his mother was an extremely unhappy and bitter woman. His eldest brother Bobby developed epilepsy after the constant bombings during World War II and spent his life residing in a psychiatric institution. His other brother George joined the Navy at a young age and ended up with a myriad of personal and social issues. Both brothers were dead before Dad turned 40. The best memory of his childhood was at the age of 8. He and his parents moved from Glasgow to a much smaller town named Brechin, the young boy excited to live in a house with full electricity and a bath. But Dad was born with resilience and innate drive, a strong spirit and incredible determination to make a better life for himself and subsequently his family. He was also born highly intelligent, and combined with his work ethic and ambition resulted in being the first Year 12 student in Scotland to ever achieve 100% in both maths and science. Dad was also an avid scout, as in the Baden-Powell type scout, a passion which resulted in attaining the Queen's Scout Award, the highest honour available in the scouting movement. He also spoke glowingly of the special times he had at the Scout Jamborees. Once again, his ambition and drive shone through. For many years, Dad visited his oldest brother almost every weekend in the hospital residence to which he was confined. These visits became the motivating factor for a young and ambitious Alan to pursue a career in medicine. Dad's high achieving continued when he won a scholarship to study medicine at Aberdeen University. He initially studied psychiatry, in which he finished top of his class, and then followed this with a mandatory year in medicine and surgery. It was at this time that Dad decided it would be a great idea to pick up his life and his pregnant wife and embark on a 10-week cruise to Australia. And not mainland Australia, but Tasmania. I won't go into too many details about his work history, except to say that Dad initially wanted to become a GP for life, but at some stage, after having been involved with it in Tasmania, his ambition to become a GP waned and his studying and focus turned to anaesthesia. His drive and ambition resulted in working at the Alfred Hospital as an anaesthetist, which was followed with his appointment to the role of inaugural director of anaesthesia at the new Maroondah Hospital. Dad and Mum as practice manager then established the Eastern Anaesthetic Group, which quickly grew to 16 anaesthetists, a number of whom then went on to establish their own practices. Amidst all of his career achievements, one of Dad's proudest moments was spending 3 weeks in Tonga as an interclass volunteer giving anaesthetics in the local hospital in Nuku'alofa. Dad would tell stories of having the windows opened in the hospital theatre because it was so hot and having lunch at the Royal Palace with the King of Tonga. I think Dad also enjoyed having the smallest pot belly in the room. Probably the biggest compliment I've heard about Dad's medical career was from Sandy, an anaesthetist himself and a friend to the end who is here today, who said that Alan was a real doctor, one that really cared about his patients and the medical industry, and one who his patients loved. Dad would be the first to admit that much of his success was due to the unconditional love and support of his wife, Bea. Mum had trained as a nurse in Aberdeen, and they had met a few times in passing. But the moment that made the match was when both were working at Royal Aberdeen Infirmary Hospital, and a very skinny in those days Alan was knocked over by Nurse Bea in the corridor, who was running to get her lunch. Dad asked Mum to the nurse's Christmas dance, and as they say, the rest is history. It was a lifelong love story they could write a book about. Young doctor with unsurpassable ambition marries young nurse with ambition that almost surpasses his, but then puts his career on hold to support Dad's ambition and give them the family for which they longed. Mum and Dad spent their lives doing almost everything together, and Dad was never the same person when he lost the love of his life 10 years ago. So let's now talk about some of Dad's passions. Dad loved to travel, both around Australia and overseas. He also loved the adventure of travelling, and what better way to begin this love than to purchase an XC Ford station wagon on Thursday, take ownership of a 22-foot caravan on Friday, and set off with his wife and 2 kids aged under 10 on a 4,500 kilometre round trip to Mackay in northern Queensland on Saturday. While this trip was a laugh a minute, well, in hindsight it did fuel Mum and Dad's enthusiasm for caravanning, incidentally not something passed on to his kids. Many caravan trips followed, covering most of the country, including an epic across the Nullarbor with friends Peter and Gwyneth. It's not possible to list all the countries Dad visited, but in tune with his adventurous streak they included Russia, India, Nepal, Morocco, Egypt, China, Alaska, which I know is not a country but should be included in this list, and of course Cambodia. Travel was one of the things that kept him enthused about life after Mum, often booking months ahead and then spending the days counting down to the trip. 84 days to go, 76 days to go, 55 days to go, you get the picture. Dad loved to eat. Part of the enjoyment of travel was to experience different cultures, and of course, as he often explained, food is a very important part of a country's culture. The other side to Dad's love of food was his love of cooking. His specialty, just make something up. Rarely was there a disaster, but it would be fair to say that some of these worked and, well, some didn't. The problem was that because he made it up as he went along, he could never replicate the best ones. He once made this meatloaf that Liam and his mate said was the absolute best meatloaf ever. We never tasted that meatloaf again. And Dad wasn't shy with his praise for his own cooking, often ending a meal with, "Gee, I really enjoyed that." Another of Dad's passions was the garden. Maybe this came from growing up in a concrete tenement flat with no green spaces. He meticulously planned the layout, colours and design that adorn his garden. He loved colours, he loved variety, he loved creating. And he loved the rain. Even if it had been raining for a week, a comment about the weather would elicit the response, "Oh, we need the rain." In his later years, when he wasn't so mobile, he designed and created a small Asian village, complete with a dinosaur and Buddha statue, near the courtyard where he could then sit in his study and look out the window on his newest accomplishment. He really did love his garden. As happens with many successful professional people when they retire, they need to find an outlet that gives them a sense of purpose. Dad initially found this as a member of FOTS, Friends of the Zoo, a volunteer organisation of the Melbourne Zoo, of which Mum was already a member. Not only did Dad love this role and become a well-liked and respected member of the FOTS team, his nature and high-achieving ways ensured that he ended up as a volunteer coordinator of the organisation. After Mum died, Dad turned to a different venture as a volunteer at Eastern Palliative Care, where he found a renewed sense of purpose and belonging while still continuing with his lifelong passion for helping people. By the comments we received from members of EPC after Dad died, he once again was a loved and respected member of their team. I'm going to pass over to Ian now because he has something about family and I can't get through that, so thank you.
Thank you, Ewan. Just before I start and finish this bit off for Ewan, or on Ewan's behalf, I once at a gathering, introduced Alan to somebody as my brother-in-law. He very quickly corrected me and said, "We're not brothers-in-law, we share the same mother-in-law," which was very true. Guys like Alan and their generation find it very hard to get involved with their families very closely because they spend their time striving to provide the best possible life for their wife and children. In Alan's case, there was unconditional love, but sometimes very difficult for him to express that. There were some serious tough times with relationships with his children, but never lasting grudges. He was strict, uncompromising at times, and disappointed at other times, but in the end, proud of what both Ewan and Vicky became. His opportunity for salvation came with his grandchildren, Liam and Amalia. Once again, unconditional love, but this time he was there for every dance and musical theatre concert, every basketball game, and so many little athletics meetings on freezing cold days, even when he was struggling with mobility and pain. His life started with very little love, support, or happiness. But from this, he created a career, family, and a life worth remembering. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. I can't get past it. Yeah, it doesn't get much.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ewan. It's wonderful to hear those stories. And thank you for honouring such family insights. And I think we all feel a little bit more connected to Alan's life from hearing them. Alan would like the memory of him to be a happy one, punctuated with smiles when life is done. And each of you have your own memories of the relationship you shared with Alan. And we will enter a time of reflection in a few moments. But before that, Alan wanted me to regale a story from his book, Travels with a Gremlin. Have you seen the numerous stories in this book? It's a wonderful array, a memoir of unique and holiday adventures. Every story illustrates and illuminates the family's travel dynamics. It was a major factor in many of my giggles, and I found the family's resilience in having to survive a Cameron holiday, trip, tour or journey always tickled my fancy. A Fawlty Towers time every time. So regaling the joys of his adventures and gremlin travels with precious family did help him find purpose while writing. A dark time after Bea, the love of his life, died, writing helped, as he struggled to find light during a difficult period. The intrepid traveller did resurface, but with a new focus to do things and work on being a solo traveller. But it took time to process. But eventually, Alan was roving again and seeing the world. A reinvention and a lovely new travel companion, Frances. Frances and Alan enjoyed many holidays and travel destinations as like-minded travel souls with a thirst to explore. Frances and Bea were early childhood friends. Frances's husband died shortly before Bea, and a friendship had already been forged and was forged again. It then took a pandemic to stop them travelling. Now let us reflect a little more, this time taking a personal moment through song. Alan's favourite song that he wants you to hear. So let's take a time to pause and let your mind revert to a time that made you smile. Perhaps a discussion you once had with Alan, a moment when you laughed together, an amusing story, or something you were taught by him. These memories are a legacy that is left behind. That we remember these moments and we can replay them means our departed loved ones are never far away from us. Please now bask in the choir that Alan loved. And while you listen, you might like to view Alan's photo collage. Just a little snippet of a 3-minute video tribute which has been produced and will be sent to you in commemoration of this day via email. An array of captures that will evoke emotions and provide a beautiful keepsake. For those watching in, at the end of your live stream, the photo video tribute will commence. Nissum Dorum from the Angelicus Celtus Choir. Alan was direct. He was not a flowery person, and he called a spade a spade. He didn't relish the idea of solemnity around this memorial service, Rather, he wanted no tears, just laughs and enjoyment created by great moments, great memories, and making new experiences together in his name today. More so, he loved the idea of people coming together today to celebrate his life, have a drink and a nibble, and just go for it. Fiona selected this poem by a famous Scottish poet, Robert Burns, and I agree it's a fitting nod and verse for Mr. Alan Cameron, entitled Epitaph on my own friend. An honest man here lies at rest, as ere God with his image blessed, the friend of a man, the friend of truth, the friend of age and guide of youth. Few hearts like his, with virtue warmed, few heads with knowledge so informed. If there's another world, he lives in bliss. If there is none, he made the best of this. Well, we have spent time reflecting on Alan's life and giving thanks for the way his life has impacted on yours. These occasions remind us how precious life is. It forces us to think about values and priorities and be grateful for what we have. Harnessing the strength of human connection, love and compassion will stay in the hearts of others after we have gone. Alan was dazzled by his supporters and full of gratitude that his wishes to die at home could be achieved. He was overwhelmed with the care and kindness accompanying him. He was truly deserving of the support and community love he received. A unique, compassionate community, which gave him the ability to stay at home and receive a calm and honoured, outgoing journey, navigated by love, navigated by family. It all starts with love. Before we conclude our service, I would like to read a beautiful poem written by Fiona. It's a reflection on love. Love does not leave us. Love had no boundaries. Love cannot measure. Love is a feeling, a warmth that we treasure. Love does not leave us. Love lives in our heart. Love is forever, although we now part. So we give thanks that Alan was part of our lives. Alan, you've lived 80 years on this earth, and sadly we've gathered to say our farewells to you. You have lived a full life, risen to meet challenges with strength and integrity, and you've been a wonderful contributor to so many. You've supported your family and friends, and fond memories of you will stay with us for the rest of our lives. Thank you for the memories that we cherish forever. Thank you for the good times and your hard work. Thank you for the laughter. But more of all, thank you, Alan, for being you. You leave this world a far richer place than you found it. So finally, it's never easy to say goodbye, but we must. Alan, take with you the love of everyone who knows you and who is witnessed here today, and feel satisfied that your marquee party has just begun. There will be tales and rehashing days of fun. I leave you as directed by Alan with the beautiful and much-loved song, Amazing Grace, chosen by Alan to be performed by Piper Mick. And then after that song, if you'd like to relax and enjoy the marquee, Mike will sing another song after that for you. But if you could stay seated during Amazing Grace, and then our service will have concluded. And I thank you all for joining us today. Farewell and thank you, Alan.
The early light is breaking, the morning sun is waiting in the sky, and I think